And right now, Beast Coast, they've got a decision to make. If they want to, they could pick up K1's hero right now. The hero pool is really not that thin. Maybe the Magnus in the PL were a little bit targeted at him, but there are still a lot of those very good meta heroes. It's really just the game plan. What do they want to play around? What do they want? If they want, they could also pick up a Chrysalike hero here. Of course, I don't think they want to do that because that would allow two more bans into the K1 hero pool, where right now I think he has a pretty free time, but
Oh,
okay. This is another hero that we've seen be wildly successful versus these jumpers like Lion, where if you can get that roll off to start the fight, you are going to be completely fine. And another matchup, very, very old, very traditional, is the Pango versus Mars, where same story. You get that roll off, you run into the arena, the Mars doesn't want to be there anymore, you have to disengage. It's the perfect counterplay versus that arena, as well as with the new Pango build that people go for. You get that Echo Saber, you get that Diffusal Blade, suddenly Medusa is going to get kited. You're very, very slow. And while this isn't a natural egg hitter, I kind of like this Pango quite a lot. Not to mention, it's a very, very big comfort pick hero for Chrysalike. So Beast Coast, they're getting a lot of good heroes under their belt. They're still missing a few of those win conditions, I want to say, and usually they get that win condition in K1, but they don't have a bad start with even just these four heroes. The lockdown is a little bit lacking. They are going to be very reliant on this DK stun Whisper finding those ins, but if they get stunned up by that DK, they have so much follow-up. They have the roll, they have the splitter, they have all of Hoodwink's spells, they have the whole toolkit to throw at them. And then we don't even know what K1's playing yet. Beast Coast really have a nice, solid draft here.
it looks good for them, but if you do have to pinpoint a concern, ET, as you said, it is going to kind of come down to the DK to be the building block there. I'm not really sure how often they're going to be able to rely on those other heroes to use their sort of control to start off the fight. So maybe that's a weak point TeamTeam could try to exploit if the DK sort of gets less effective, but you're not exactly going to be able to force him out of the lane. That's kind of DK's thing. He puts the points up in the Dragon's Blood, and he just kind of sits there. So he's going to find a decent amount of farm. And if you're TeamTeam, you just have to make sure decent does not equate into too much to handle. If he gets a quick Blink Dagger, then you're in trouble the rest of the way through. But and with that being said, right now TeamTeam's focus has to be on K1's hero pool. That's really all that's left. They start with the Gyro ban, and, well, the Luna, the TB they could go for. Maybe they're afraid of that Ursa that they tried to run against the Medusa in the last game. Obviously, Sammy wasn't quite able to find what he needed on that one, so maybe they're convinced that it didn't really work out spectacularly, so they might not think K1 would try it either. And you mentioned the Pangolier being a potential Diffusal Blade builder. I'm not really sure you want the Ursa alongside it at that stage, but they go in none of the directions I mentioned. They ban the Spectre instead.
And it's not a bad ban. It does protect your backline, but you pick your poison. You're either going to have a backline or you're going to have a TB issue. And now you've got Terrorblade versus Medusa, a lane that, albeit, will be a little bit of a struggle for K1, no matter who ends up being this 4 position, whether it's Mars Phoenix or Mars Lion. It's not the most fun. Mars really just props up his offlaner or his 4 position in any position. So K1 might feel a little bit of the pressure, but you've got that wall that is the Elder Titan that's going to be running at you. So I don't even think that lane is going to be too much of a liability. I think Beast Coast have set themselves up to not really lose anywhere. Of course, the play still needs to be there. The execution still needs to be there. And with this pick, they do really solidify their draft. I think everyone's slotting into a pretty obvious position. The only thing we might see is, depending on the mid laner here, whether or not we see the Pango mid or the DK mid. Like with the Leshrac pickup, maybe you want the DK mid, but I think regardless, Beast Coast are happy with their lanes pretty much no matter what. And I do like that we do see, yeah, they are going to go DK mid after seeing the Lesh, but I do think with this Leshrac, you have something. You have something to spiral those team fights that should be going pretty well for you if you dump all of your ultimates. And I think that's going to be the key aspect, where if TeamTeam can rely on their own draft, and that's something that they did. Their style pretty much throughout this draft was, we're not going to exactly look at what you're picking and then try to counter pick it. We're instead going to rely on picking this very, very heavy team fight lineup where they have Mars, Medusa, Phoenix. These team fights are something that Beast Coast need to kite around. They need to disengage if all those spells are committed. But that's when Beast Coast will run at you when your CDs are there. That's when Ryoya really has to get a lot of work done. He needs to capitalize off of those victories from their ultimates. And if they don't, again, Beast Coast have that sort of auto win lineup where they are going to farm. They're going to ignore you. They're going to choose their fights. And now that you have that DK going to the mid lane, it's going to be a lot slower. Even though both these heroes, they're going to make the T1's falls just that little bit faster. Who that favors, it's hard to say because we do have this Medusa versus TB core matchup that should not feel good for Sammy Boy unless he's ahead.
Yeah, unless he's ahead. There's sort of the caveat. If they can sort of buy him a lot of space, keep that sort of jungle area pretty much completely clear of Beast Coast, then Sammy can sort of get something to work with. But that's a pretty big if. We have seen plenty of teams before get a little bit of space for the Medusa, but not always enough. So very much going to be wondering just what they can do there. But as you were sort of mentioning, Ryoya on that Leshrac, I feel like that's going to take potentially so much of that pressure away. You can't just go all in on the Medusa. There's going to be sort of damage and control coming out from other parts of the lineup. So it can't just be sort of a tunnel vision in, kill the Medusa, and we're good kind of scenario. But Beast Coast very rarely sort of does that anyway. They don't really seem to be a squad that just sort of focuses solely on a singular target, or at least not to the detriment of the rest of the game plan. So don't really anticipate them sort of going all in that sort of scenario, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe TeamTeam could bait them into it. Unfortunately, we do have a pause to start out here. Mike says Brax's dog ran away. Okay.
Unfortunate. I hope he can catch him in time to, come back and play Mars. One of his best heroes, to be honest. Brax Mars was a little bit of a meme for a little bit there. Missed a few spears the first 2 weeks of that hero actually being in the scene, but now it's almost a staple of the meta of everything in Dota as we've come here forward. But at the end of the day, I'm still thinking about this Pangolier role, what this is going to cause for those team fights. Because you talk about going on multiple targets. This Pango, that is the hero. That is the hero that goes in, tries to stun 3 people, and if he finds anything, we see it pair up so perfectly with this Hoodwink. It's just the chaos factor where these heroes have these incredibly annoying stuns, and the damage is definitely there. Beast Coast have really formulated a really solid all-around.
And you see Ryoya taking a bit of a trip across the river there, did throw down a ward and just try to do a little bit of scouting. Obviously, takes a little bit of damage, but he can just sort of wait this one out, not even going to have to dip into the tangos. We did see that, I believe, in the last game as well. So just trying to make sure, check for some wards, see what's up, dropping some Suns fans on that high ground as well.
And the Jhin Q to trade it out by Chris Luck, I still hate how it interacts with the terrain directly.
Yeah,
it's
that's funky.
just a kind of texture over texture, but what can you do? But I think okay, Stinger. Interesting.
Wow. All right. Damn. Just gonna hit him with that. All right. But either way, Bounty Rune spawning up in just a few more seconds. 4 Zoomers looking to get themselves 2 in the west. Nice attempt at the sneaky play from K1. Tried to wrap around, but Flea very wisely sees that one coming. He's sitting on that high ground just in case, and K1 does end up getting turned back. So good play in there from TeamTeam, able to sort of hold on to an extra rune or so, but really not going to see any sort of early fighting. And we always talk about this with these North American squads. They're always so hesitant to commit resources before the laning stage, especially with someone like Sammy in the safe lane. He is really not going to be okay with potentially putting his laning stage at risk for really any fight, but especially in that situation. I don't think that TeamTeam were going to have too many openings to find an early kill there. So very much lane focused. We do see this early obs though. This is really deep into the lane from Beast Coast. They are going to see very little in terms of the actual jungle, but anytime somebody is maneuvering here, they're going to have eyes on it as Stinger gets taken down in the top lane. Brax and Flea attacking early.
And it's a very well-timed push. You get him right after that buff from the Astral Spirit fades away, so you just play on top of him. Can't do much, not really having enough armor to his name. Flea gonna get a nice pretty courier here as well.
Sammy.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Getting hit up down in that bottom lane. Schofield gets the bushwhack down, but I'm not sure they have the damage at this point. Whisper's trying, but not going to be able to get it. Now, Schofield, you need to get yourself out of here. One more hit from Mike could finish him off, but without the Icarus dive, he can't close the gap. So Schofield will live, but he's kind of dragging a creep wave. So at this point, he's got to be incredibly careful. But it looks like he'll get back onto his own side. That's TeamTeam, though, with 2 straight kills. 2 straight? No, 3 straight. Ryoya taking down Chris Luck mid.
I can't believe that happened, and that happened with Ryoya already having the bottle coming out to him, so he's just sitting on what could be another null, could be phase, or could be the Boots of Speed already purchased up. That is something you don't want to give away. That is really strange.
Ryoya, I mean, you can't ever underestimate this man, right? He knows what he's doing. He catches out Chris Luck, and that is a big kill in the middle lane for him. So very nicely done, Chris Luck. Honestly, I don't think he's going to get set back too much from that. He'll come back to the lane, he'll get the points up in the Dragon Blood, really just sort of settle back into the routine for that DK. But that's now 3 straight kills for the TeamTeam side. They are looking to put together some early pressure, although Flea, well, yeah, he's going to get slowed up here. I'm not sure he makes it out of this one. He needs some help. Brax, though, can't get there in time. The Rebuke wasn't ready either. That really would have made the difference. If they had 1 more second, he could have gotten away. But now Brax, trying to dodge out the stomp, will be able to do so, and Stinger getting pushed back a little bit, but with that Astral Spirit damage, Brax has got to be careful. He is taking a bit more damage than he originally anticipated.
And while they sort of stabilize in the top lane with the wave pushing in for Brax, that was him getting the salve with this reflection in addition to killing Flea. And Flea, while he has Tranquil Boots, it won't be the biggest travel for him. It's just more space over to K1, and we've already seen what he's able to do with the free farm game. Now he's on an even better carry in a very dominant matchup. I don't think you can really afford to give him these opportunities, as well as he has that level 2 meta. He used it so early on in that first wave. He has it back up again, where they can get very aggressive on this line if he does stand out of position, as well as just having the stacked camp. You're losing a lot of creeps on the TeamTeam side.
Yeah, Flea's doing his best here, sort of operating in the jungle, but Stinger's keeping tabs on him. Not really sure he's going to be able to put much damage on him right now, but just making sure he's not going to be overly influential. He is actually going to get maybe 1 hit in, but by that point, you weren't really hitting all that hard with the extra spirit damage. But as you said, they're just giving a lot over to K1, and to a certain extent, there's only so much they can do. This duo can get aggressive, but even if they go in, if they chain up the stuns, if they get the spear, K1's not a squishy hero, and then Stinger could just sort of pop the stomp and really break up everything. So as nice as it would be for them to get aggressive, they recognize right now it would be pretty dang risky. So instead, Fleet rotates his way mid. Respect to start it off into the Split Earth. They've got the Diabolic Edict coming into play as well, but Chris Luck still trying to make his way out of here. He's taking a lot of damage, but Schofield, nice play. Rotates over, still only level 1 on that Hoodwink, but level 1 Bushwhack gets the job done. Pulls the Leshrac far enough back where Chris Luck escapes and heals up. So Ryoya very nearly had himself a second kill in this middle lane. This time he had help, but even the rotation from Flea isn't quite enough. But now, well, Flea needs to return to the top lane. Brax is getting maybe not pressured directly, but not quite able to match up right now farm-wise.
And unfortunately, this is where Schofield is suffering just a little bit. He likes to do this in his 4-position style. Give everything to my offlaner. I'll take over the mid lane. I'll take over bot whenever you're ready to make your plays. And once you get level 6 on this Pangolier, that's where we could see the very easy punish on the Leshrac mid, where Chris Luck leads in with that Dragon Tail, simply TPs in on the Pango, and actually he just ate a huge snake. I think Mike's got him.
That's going to be enough DOT. Whisper, yeah. No Fairy Fire or anything of that nature, so was not going to be able to sort of fight his way through that damage, and that's big. Sammy Boy just hits him with almost a casual Mystic Snake, as you said, and Mike is quick to take advantage. So the TeamTeam fast on the draw there as they get their 4th kill, and now Mike actually TP's mid. They're going to look to put some pressure onto the tier 1. Ryoya's got not quite max level Edict, but why get the tower when you can get the kill? Chris Luck is going to get hit up by 3 heroes. Is there support? Schofield is here. Good Bushwhack in onto 2. And I think that is going to break this one up. Whisper's even rotated over, so Ryoya, this is a bit more of a party than he was originally anticipating, and said, why go for the tower if you can go for the kill? Well, if you can't get the kill, then maybe the tower would have been nicer after all, but that one's going to get broken up. Flea's now in some danger. Schofield has hit level 2, so he does have the Acorn shot, but at this point, with Mike here to sort of ward them off with those Fire Spirits, neither Whisper nor Schofield really want to commit fully for the engagement.
And you look at bottom, and Sammy Boy got the tower. He just was able to push in with a triple range creep wave. Nobody was there. He had already seen the Pango commit. And while Whisper's going to get all of this farm, still, that's more space to the Medusa. It's much harder for you to get this enemy safe lane tower if you're Beast Coast, and Sammy Boy's going to be pretty happy with his position. Gets that little bit more net worth to himself. And it was an interesting play from TeamTeam, keeping the Phoenix there that early. I felt like they were going a little bit too soon. They wanted to press the advantage that Rioja had gained, and I think K1,
Yeah, speaking of
kind of a
advantages,
characteristic death.
yeah, will be taken down, but yeah, at this point, K1, once he respawns, this is probably the moment where he makes that rotation into the jungle. Kind of feels like he's now done with that top lane, so he will be almost certainly rotating in. That's going to free up some space for the likes of Stinger or Schofield to get some experience. Meanwhile, that was definitely a Midas purchase on Chris Luck. Yes, it was. So that's not exactly something that we see all too often on the DK, but Chris Luck feeling like maybe he can get away with a little bit of extra greed.
And the hero does utilize attack speed very nicely, and it gives you those levels, lets your timings come that little bit faster. Unfortunately, I don't think DK has the strongest talent. They just feel good, specifically that 400 health at 15 really puts you over that kill threshold where a lot of heroes struggle now to take out this Dragon Knight even further, but it is definitely greedy. It's no Blink Dagger.
Stinger. He is going to get himself caught out here, able to get the stomp down. Brax, though, misses the spear, but at this point, Ryoya still got it. Pulse Nova comes in, Stinger gets taken down, and
Look at Sammy. He's stealing the stack.
Trying to take it, but Whisper makes his way over. The question is, can he actually prevent this? Sammy's still hitting that up, and now Schofield, you are kind of stuck in between two. He's going to try to get himself out, but IX Mike brings him down. Chris Luck moved into position, but now we see a potential consequence of that Midas play. He's not exactly battle ready here. Whisper, though, does try to roll his way through. This just really doesn't feel like it's going to get a whole lot done, and he doesn't have mana for the swashbuckle afterwards, so he needs to take the last few seconds to get away. Instead, he goes for the extra damage, and he is going to pay for that one.
And that is pretty disastrous for Beast Coast there. Sammy Boy was able to get half of those. Yeah, you lose top tower at the same time, and Sammy Boy gets to clean up Whisper. You use your Pango roll and basically get nothing. It's a very strange circumstance because, again, you look at your DK mid with the Midas, and he is able to farm up here, but because of this Midas play, you're not only seeing that be felt where you can't contest your stacks, but Schofield doesn't have an empty lane. He can't go bottom. There's no tower there, so you're seeing Stinger now get the XP there. And this Hoodwink, which is a very level-dependent hero, is sitting at level 3 9 minutes into the game. Yeah. You are stalling out pretty hard, especially playing versus a lineup with this Boots of Travel Leshrac and Amars, who is going to run at you with this arena pretty constantly. I feel like they're giving TeamTeam quite a few options here to play on them.
And just sort of night and day difference between Game 1 and Game 2. The openings here, TeamTeam look stable, they look confident, they look like we know what our game plan is, and we're playing it really to perfection at this point. 8-1, and I really do think at this point, this pickup, putting Ryoya on the Leshrac right at the sort of back end of that draft, that really turned things around in terms of the concerns we initially had for this lineup. They have done so much with this Leshrac. He's sitting at 3-0, he's been able to push towers, and pushing those towers cleared up so much space elsewhere on the map. It's not just taking the towers themselves, it's the fact that Beast Coast now have lost a lot of the control of the map. All three of their tier 1s are gone. Sammy Boy is free to farm up on his own side and maybe occasionally take some forays into his opponent's jungle as well. So very, very well played from TeamTeam. This is the kind of play, all of 10 minutes in, so maybe shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves, but this is the play we've been waiting to see from them all tournament long.
And that's where they need to continue to punish, though. And unfortunately, a Whisper, this is why you pick this hero. Just gets the roll out. He's able to play in these more dangerous positions, but you keep this tier 1 alive bottom, and unless Hector really feels confident enough to make the rotation on the Terrorblade, which I don't think he will. I think he's going to rather prefer spending these metas, not fighting, but instead farming these Ancients, farming the Triangle even more. And you see Chris Luck walking over. He's not even going for a Blink Tag. He has a BKB queued up. And Ryoya, he's getting the kill on the vulnerable hero in the top lane because Schofield, still not level 6, he has nowhere to play right now. He can't go mid, he can't go bottom, he can't go top, he can't jungle, and he doesn't have a tome. It just feels like there's no way to enable this Hoodwink right now.
Yeah, which so strange considering we just got done watching that core Hoodwink be so just incredible in Whisper's hands. Now it's not entirely Schofield's fault. It's the nature of sort of how this game is played out, but he just can't find anything for himself, and now his teammates are in trouble. Brax gets behind enemy lines, drops down the arena, but Stinger is in there with the Earth Splitter. The problem is that Supernova breaks up everything. They cannot push into the egg, so while it's a nice response from Stinger, it's not going to lead into the fight that they needed, and now they're just going to have to back up again. Chris Luck popped the Elder Dragon form for that, not going to get a crazy amount out of it.
And that's where the defense, if Team commit all of their team fight abilities, Beast Coast cannot stay there. Fortunately, Whisper had already committed that Rolling Thunder, so he will be able to get more aggressive out on the map pretty soon here. But it doesn't really matter. They defend the tower. They get their objective. You don't get yours. Flea is so obnoxious with his build. He's got max mana drain. He doesn't have the most damage, but he is just stopping any play from being made, any counterplay, while his other two cores are farming the entire top jungle and the entire triangle. It just feels like right now Team are getting more out of the map than Beast Coast are, where Beast Coast are really putting everything into this Midas on DK and into the Terrorblade.
Oh, Stinger, he had no way of knowing.
But,
that is so unfortunate. Ryoya just had the invis room.
K1.
And yeah, oh god, he's stuck. Can they kill him before the Sunder? He doesn't even have the mana. The snake hits him, and well, that's enough damage to finish him off. Double kill for Ryoya. Team. I mean, I said it before. This is the play we've been waiting all tournament long to see from them. It's coming at a perfect time, and it's just as close to flawless as I think you can get in a 13-minute span. They have just played so damn well, and Beast Coast, the shoe's finally on the other foot here. They're the ones who are maybe drawing a blank here in terms of immediate answers.
And you want to see them play a little bit more with each other. Okay, Schofield, he's still playing top.
Down. Oh my god.
He's still trying to find anything, level-wise, farm-wise. He's going for the Spirit Vessel. He's had such a quiet game, and you look at the kills, everyone is having a quiet game on the Beast Coast side, and I feel like it goes back to Chris Luck not having these normal item timings. He's going to have his Blink Dagger in a few moments here,
Ryoya.
but...
That's a little awkward. But this is just the two supports. The damage output isn't here. Stinger, okay. Got to admire the ambition. Can they get the sharpshooter, though? That might just do it. That's actually not nearly as much damage as I thought it would be, but Chris Luck is in. Dragon Tail's there. Whisper comes over for that swashbuckle as well, and they finally get their man. It does cost them Stinger, but you will take that trade. They needed something, and they do finally get it.
And it's exactly what they needed. That was even without the Blink Dagger on Chris Luck. Chris Luck gets the gold as well, so he's sitting a little bit more farmed than he would be otherwise. But now putting pressure on these buildings, this is what the DK needs to do, but to return it, there's the Brax Blink Dagger.
That's a problem. There's going to be the arena, rebuke into spear. Mike coming in there with the Sunray, looking for the follow-up damage. Chris Luck, though, just going to try and TP out. Does he make it away? Yes, he does.
Oh my goodness.
That is a very bold move on his part. The nerve to just sort of go for it and say, I'm pretty damn sure you don't have any way to cancel this, and you don't have the damage to kill me. So he doesn't get the tower, but just sort of gets out from under the noses of Team there. That's really what they needed. I mean, they needed the tower more than anything, but at least you don't lose your DK.
And that's really the issue where Flea didn't have TP. He was finishing his Blink Dagger bottom. If the Lion is there, there's no way that works, ever. There is not a chance in the world. But with full confidence, he gets to make that TP play. And of course, he was sitting with sub 100 HP, but it just does not feel like this is going to be worth it. And he does have the Blink Dagger, does actually dodge it out. But you claim the tower, and now it's up to Flea and the rest of Team to get on the aggressive again, because I think they need to force K1 to sort of play in the enemy team's jungle. Otherwise, they are going to feel a little bit cramped. They're going to feel a little bit crunched. And really, I don't think he can afford to give up another death the way he died before. He needs to play with his Mars. We finally need to see that pairing, that team up that was working so well in the early game. They need to keep the pressure on.
Now Ryoya making his way up to the top lane, looking to get some damage done with the Edict, but the Glyph from Beast Coast will turn him back. The thing is, that is a Glyph, but there's no one up here to defend it. So Ryoya really doesn't have to wait too long. 10 seconds left on the cooldown, so he could go for a second attempt. Now, though, we do see Schofield coming up, but this looks like a bit of a trap. There's so many heroes here. Brax, though, missing the spear. Lucky break for Schofield. And I don't know how deep Brax really wants to chase this, especially considering Ryoya is just going back onto the tower, and actually, no, he's not. He's TPing himself bot. There's a team fight breaking out. Flea got the stun onto two, the Supernova. He's going to get thrown down into the splitter stun, connecting onto both. And Whisper and Chris Luck, they just didn't know that that was coming their way. So much thrown out against them. 2, 3 stuns in a row hitting onto both, and I mean, they just had nowhere to go. If they held their ground, they die. If they try to run, they're going to get sort of caught out. So just have to eat those deaths, but TeamTeam make it happen. And now, well, they're looking to reinforce Sammy. He's going to pop the Stone Gaze. K1, you have got to get out of here, but he's going to get stunned up. Fleet comes in. There's going to be the stun. Stinger, though, does throw down a nice Earth Splitter that buys time for K1 to get the Sunder, but it's just not enough. Even with the HP bar swap, he still dies. And for Zoomers, I mean, find me a flaw. This is perfect so far.
And it's the immediate smoke after those 2 kills. Of course, I have to gush about Flea getting that 2-man Earth Spike, just feeling so impactful on this Lion. But then you have the smoke up run past 2 of these beautiful Beast Coast wards that end up not mattering because that smoke is so clean. And then, fortunately enough, you bump into K1, who felt like he was kicking out Medusa from the jungle. You felt like you were displacing Sammy Boy, maybe forcing him to TP elsewhere, but you have no idea. You lose track of TeamTeam for a second, and when they commit their ultis and they commit them in sync, they are going to succeed in these team fights. That's what they are really capable of doing. And look bottom.
Now they've got Whisper as well. Flea in with the stun. Ryoya's there to follow it up, and Flea, you said we're sort of gushing about that play. He's been so good so far. Hasn't even taken a kill away. 0, 1, and 7. So he has been there, hasn't gotten too greedy. He's setting up plays without taking away gold, and he's a large part of the reason why TeamTeam are really sort of dominating these fights. Speaking of fights, though, Brax and Mike, no, they were moving into the north side jungle. Chris Luck and Stinger were both sort of in the area, but neither one of them really wants the engagement, and that's going to be sort of the running theme for Beast Coast right now. K1 just needs to continue farming. He's got an S&Y right now, but that's really not enough, and looking over at Chris Luck, he got that Blink Dagger a while back, but the BKB still a ways away, and without some of those items, they're just not going to have the confidence to deal with the lockdown that TeamTeam have at their disposal.
And that's where we might see them struggle a bit. I love this smoke. Again, it's a little bit more obvious, but their lanes are in good spots. This could be them resetting, not wanting to show in lanes. They aren't showing anywhere, which makes it a little bit less obvious, but oh, Schofield.
Flea can't blink in initially, but they do still find Schofield. They get the arena down onto Brax, but Whisper was able to channel out the Rolling Thunder, so he is getting as far away from this as possible. And see you later, folks. I am rolling my way as far from any of you as I can. So he's going to be able to keep himself alive, but now TeamTeam, yeah, directly into the Roche Pit. They held off on picking up that DD rune initially, so now they have it in Sammy Boy's hands for the Roche attempt, and this is just going to go too quickly. Beast Coast could not possibly get heroes into position to contest it.
And now you see Sammy Boy turning around for that Scotty. It's an interesting idea because you are still playing versus that Terrorblade, but we have not felt that matchup yet. And you take a look at the net worth, Sammy Boy is maintaining that lead, the all-important lead. And K1, again, Flea. Nice 4-staff 2. Oh, he's so good. Oh my goodness.
Flea. He's just running laps around some of these guys right now, just playing so well. K1. And now what? You just use your meta, and you're not going to be able to really find much of anything. He can rotate into the jungle, I suppose, but they want something. Chris Luck, you see there waiting in the wings as well, hoping for the blink, but Ryoya's not going to take that bait. He falls back, and I mean, where has this version of TeamTeam been throughout the entirety of this group stage? They are playing like a team that's just firing on all cylinders. There is so little for us to complain about with their play, as while all of that's going down, Sammy takes a tier 2 mid. This is exceptionally efficient play.
And Ryoya doesn't give it to him. He doesn't let himself get taken back by that smoke. They knew that they wanted to commit something. They wanted to get away with murder in that bottom lane, but instead stays around, if anything, to give space to his teammates pushing in the mid tower. He sort of baits Beast Coast into thinking maybe somebody's going to show here. We have to wait it out. We're going to wait the entirety of our smoke. Well, we used meta. We didn't get anything with our smoke. We have to go back to farming, but then they get him like this.
Oh, man.
We never left bottom.
And there's a finger. They get the Hex onto the Hoodwink as well. Brax, oh, he had already used his blink, so he's not going to be able to close the gap all that quickly, but they're still keeping tabs on him. Schofield, yeah, he's waiting for reinforcements. Chris Luck is here. Stinger's moved in as well. Flea realizes it is time to go, but he's not going to make it out. The Bushwhack will lock him down. Chris Luck actually not going to use the Dragon Tail. Instead, he'll save it for after the Stomp wears off, and they do find that kill. But even with that, if you're Flea, that's your second death of the game, and you trade yourself out for the Pango, and guess what? Distraction on one side of the map, push on the other. Sammy got up to the tier 3 tower. He and Ryoya dropped it, and at this point, they're just going to finish it off. Schofield's the only one in a defensive position right now, and God bless him, but there's only so much he can do there. So he has to let the tower go, and now the racks, they're going to be falling as well. Ryoya with the Edict just going to tear through it.
And I feel like we're seeing the same game that we saw yesterday where it was Infamous versus TeamTeam where they just got a Rax. They got away with murder. The timings just weren't there for Beast
Whisper,
Coast, and
I don't know about
he's
this.
trying.
He's going to give it a go.
This
Nice
feels a
defusal
little
play onto
awkward.
Ryoya, but he needs the reinforcements. K1's coming in, but I don't know if this is really what they want. They've dropped IX Mike low, but he has the Supernova, and there it is. Dropped right on top. K1 stunned up by the Split Earth. He does get the Sunder off, though, so he is going to be able to survive this. Stinger, not quite as fortunate. He does get hit up by that Supernova stun, and now Chris Luck in some trouble as well, but the BKB is going to be popped. They're trying to get onto Sammy, but even if they get him, he's got 2 lives here with the Aegis, so this is really just a very strange fight. They're throwing so many of their resources into this, but at a certain point, I'm not entirely sure what the win condition may have been for them. Whisper gave it a good go, but they needed to be a little bit closer in that instance. If they were going to take that fight, I think they needed all 5 in right at the outset. And they didn't quite have that for not for Zoomers. TeamTeam were able to just sort of hold the line. Sammy doesn't even lose the Aegis, and it just doesn't go the way that they want it to. That's kind of been the story of the game so far, but it just keeps on playing out like that.
And this is where we haven't felt the matchup. We haven't felt them be able to sit back, farm, do whatever they want. You see, even see K1 still popping his meta just to farm these creep camps to try and get a little bit more speed. He has a butterfly, so we have this awkward butterfly versus butterfly carry matchup, but you're up an item on this Terrorblade if you're the Medusa. And with Ryoya running in, it feels like there's no hero to deal with this Leshrac right now, and he doesn't even have a BKB. He decided to go for the Kai Assange, and we knew that there were going to be lockdown issues. We knew that was the only flaw in Beast Coast's plan here. But Chris Luck went for a Midas.
Whisper caught out in the top lane. Brax hits him up with the arena into the spear, flees there with the finger, and Whisper's dead for 40. There's no buyback available, and at this point, this Pango, he just hasn't gotten too many opportunities. He's 0-8. That Diffusal Blade came out much later than you really needed it to try and deal with Sammy, and he's obviously still doing whatever he can. It's just that his options are so limited, as we do see TeamTeam pushing their way up to the high ground. They already took 1 lane of Rax. They're looking for a second, and if you're Beast Coast, I don't know how much you're capable of doing here. Who initiates? It would be Chris Luck, presumably, but that's a single target. He can go in with Dragon Tail onto 1, and you have to account for so many people. If you stun up Sammy, you're going to get stunned by the supports. If you go for Flea, you're going to have to deal with the response from Sammy and Brax. Mike isn't even an option because he's just that far back, but once you go in, he's dropping the Supernova right on your head.
And with that, Aegis will be reclaimed in 2 seconds here, but it just feels so clean from TeamTeam. All of their rotations are just working out, where Beast Coast were getting to a point where they really only have one more fight, I think, left in them. They do have buybacks, I think, on at least K1, on at least the supports, but if they lose anyone, if they lose their Initiator, lose their Dragonite, he's going to have buyback pretty soon as well, but you don't want to be forced in Whisper.
Oh no,
playing
Whisper.
around.
That's so unfortunate for him. Kind of his own doing there, but he gets picked off, and he's one of the heroes who doesn't have his buyback. He's about 600 short, so TeamTeam are in for the racks, and where's K1? He's out of the base right now. He doesn't even have a TP. This might just be it. He can't get back. He'd have to walk at this point, and if he does, he's walking through the whole TeamTeam lineup, so... And this is Megas, and...
He's just farming. This is just the game. This is it. This is GG.
What?
Chris has smoked AFK in the fountain. I don't know what's gone on in this game. This is not a game of Dota.
The weirdest, quietest ending to a game. Yeah, just the Whisper gets picked off, doing a little bit of fake out play on the high ground, and then K1's kind of AFK farming, and there's your GG. Okay, it will eventually come out. They're not going to drag it on for that long. And TeamTeam, you wanted to know what they were capable of? We now know. That is a complete and total dismantling of Beast Coast here to get that 1-1 draw. Excellent play from them.
Yeah, and it does feel strange. It feels like a weird way to go if you are Beast Coast, because they had a really solid draft. They had to swap it around a little bit because of that last pick, Leshrac. I think that the DK does play a little bit more stable than the Pango versus him, but you get soul killed at level 2. You fall behind and you buy a Midas 7 minutes into the game. This wasn't your 5 minute Midas. You get an Arc Warden and then suddenly you're bursting out onto the map. This was a slow Midas on heroes that didn't feel like they have the space allotted to him, as well as Schofield, who sacrificed everything for Whisper, a Whisper Pango who went 0-9, was not able to find plays anywhere. He tried. Every single Rolling Thunder, though, he didn't have any backup, and that's where you needed the supporting cast. You needed Schofield to have a better game, but he just got jerked around, picked off. And looking at the other side, you had your mid laner playing on all cylinders. You had Sammy Boy, who had all the space in the world, and you had Flea making just beautiful play after play after play. And the 1-1-4 build really stalling up Beast Coast, where they simply didn't have the mana to make the plays they wanted to. I feel like if you have a better game on this Hoodwink, Flea can't just sit there and mana drain you. You get bushwhacked, you just feed, you just die because you're standing completely still. But instead, Team somehow make it work. I think there were some really strange issues plaguing Beast Coast in this game. I really can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, it just seemed like one of those issues, right? Stinger's game's not great. Schofield's game's not great. Whisper doesn't get a lot of backup. If you have one of those problems, you can power your way through it. Even the later DK Midas could have been something that they can eventually overcome. But when all of those issues sort of compound together in the first 10 minutes of the game, you're fighting with one, in that case, maybe even both hands sort of tied behind your back. There was just so much that they had to overcome before they could then deal with even what TeamTeam was throwing out against them. So you're starting the race with obstacles already sort of in your path. Meanwhile, for TeamTeam, I mean, I mentioned it in the game. We've been waiting to see this, but there it is. This is what this lineup can do when they have the draft that they're comfortable with, when they don't give away their strat in, basically the end of the first phase, as we saw in some of the previous drafts that they put together. When they can hold themselves to that level of play, to that standard, they are exceptionally strong, taking a game off of what you described in Beast Coast as one of the top 3 teams. And I think that might even be maybe not giving enough credit to Beast Coast, and TeamTeam still took a game off of them.
Yeah, I just hope that if they can maintain this on TeamTeam, if they can keep up this aggression, especially now coming into their next series of the day, it's really just who is going to be top 4, who is going to be not top 4, who's going to be put in that lower bracket. If they can edge up some of these other teams, maybe keep it a little bit closer, TeamTeam are going to be happy.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, looking to sort of keep it going, they will have the opportunity to do exactly that in what is promising to be a very interesting matchup. TeamTeam will be in action once again. They are facing off against 4 Zoomers, so there's a whole lot to be said about that matchup. Maybe some bad blood still between the teams after what went down with some of the roster shakeups. So we have ourselves a bit of a grudge match in that NA region. We're going to be hopping into that. TeamTeam, though, are going to be given a bit of a break. We're not completely heartless here. We will allow them to actually rest before we shove them into another best of 2. But before we hop into that break and await the start of that 3rd series, we do have a word from one of our sponsors. It is Mate Mate. Purchase your Mate Mate at BTS. Blah, 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 blah. Let me try that one again. Purchase your Mate Mate at bts.gg/Mate Mate. Use code BTSDota. You get 15% off of your order, free international shipping, and you are entered into Mate Mate's grand prize giveaway. As a reminder, they're giving away, Secret Lab branded Dota chairs. We've got an Aftershock PC, an entire tower and rig for you, as well as some Razer keyboard and mouse bundles. So you're entered into a chance to win some pretty cool stuff. All you got to do is use that BTS Dota code at bts.gg/Mate Mate. Get yourself a drink, get the chance to win some very, very nice stuff for your setup. And yeah, thank you to Mate Mate for helping to put that together for us. So with that said, it is time. We are now going to be moving into that 3rd series again, 4 Zoomers versus TeamTeam, the grudge match in the North American region. But that is going to be coming your way in a couple of minutes here. We will be stepping away. So stick around and we'll be back for game 1 in a few minutes.